Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to another episode of Comment Foolery Exposed. So, Nicole, she is now being called a colorist. Not only did she get canceled for dancing with Chris Brown, she's also been accused of things like featureism and texturism and benefiting from those things. Unambiguous black women have come out of the woodworks to say that Kayla is not their representation and that she is not a representation of dark-skinned, unambiguous black women. But I wanted to pull up some of these comments. This girl says, Kayla herself is colorist. Look at her pictures. She edits herself to look lighter. She edits her eyes, her nose, her face shape, her past tweets about people being too black and ugly to be on Twitter. She needs to be called out for this. Bravo, girl. This all needed to be said. And by the way, the majority of these comments have been pulled from YouTuber Chrissy's YouTube channel. I just wanted to call out the fact that they're accusing Kayla of editing herself to look lighter. I've noticed this trend where usually you've got dark-skinned, unambiguous women. They're constantly accusing others of lightening their pictures. But then if you call them out for lightening their pictures, they'll say, oh no, I just want to have good lighting so you can see all my features. So apparently Kayla's not allowed to look different. Also, several people have said that Kayla is not dark-skinned. They identify her as being quote-unquote brown or somewhere in the middle. So why is it that we can understand if somebody goes from a light cocoa to deep chocolate? You can understand that, except for when it comes to Nicole. And then they say she edits her whole face. Have you ever noticed that when you are pretty and when you're accused of being a colorist, they always try to give this argument that you're just a colorist girl who doesn't actually look like your photos. You know, you're just a self-hating colorist. You're editing your eyes and your nose and your lips. And by the way, I will pull up some of Nicole's Getty images. That's how she looks. That's her real face. So I know it's hard for some people to believe that you can be dark and actually be pretty, but it's happening. That's Kayla's face. And I wanted to pull up the tweets that they said Nicole said, and, they're accusing her of being a colorist and racist and, thinking she's better than others. So they pulled up some quotes from 2010, 2011. So Nicole would have been a teenager, around 18 years old. And I find it interesting that they're pulling up Nicole's old tweets and trying to cancel her, but they don't keep the same energy for JT from the City Girls. They didn't keep the same energy for Sexy Red, who was talking about women's hair textures. They don't keep the same energy for women like Azalea Banks, who call people roaches and call them black as tar and tar babies and stuff. So why is it that they're having all this energy for Nicole? Also, they didn't cancel Nicolandria, the one that made several racist comments, and he is a registered Trump supporter, and all of his ex-girlfriends, his actual preference looks nothing like Olandria. I didn't see them calling Nick a colorist. But when it comes to Kayla, because she went on stage with a man that a lot of them lust after, because she was the quote-unquote chosen one, they're giving her this argument where it's like, oh, you're just a token dark-skinned girl, you're just a chosen dark girl. And so now they're using her tweets to get her canceled. So in Nicole's tweet, she says, I won person you love to hate in high school. That's what she was voted for in her yearbook, I guess. She said, I won person you love to hate. People thought I was mean. I took it as a compliment from all the hate and hoes. There's always that one obnoxiously loud black girl with the annoying voice. There will always be that one, shaking my head. So apparently if you call somebody black loud, then, you're a colorist. And then in her other tweet, she said, wish a knucka would ask me to sign a prenup. Boy, go. Her other tweet says, if your Twitter profile pic looks like one of them black blobs from Pac-Man, you are too black for Twitter and ugly. So that is what Nicole said. And once again, my question for the people calling her colorist is, what are your standards for being a colorist? Is it once a colorist, always a colorist? If you made colorist comments when you were a teenager, are you forever a colorist? Are you defined based on your past? Because right now, there are dark-skinned black women supporting Cardi B because they like that Cardi B dissed another light-skinned rapper in her song. So they're supporting Cardi B, the same one that just called them roaches a few years ago. But now they're saying that Nicole is a colorist. This person says this, she had no problem because she's a colorist herself. I peeped what most of her friends look like. She panders as well towards black women only when convenient, because she needs people to defend her online. So remember that talking point where it's like, if you don't hang out with dark-skinned girls, you're colorist, but then if you're nice to dark-skinned girls, you're a panderer. So this person is saying that she's both because her friends are not dark-skinned enough. Do you see what I mean? They want dark-skinned women to literally be segregated. So she's canceling Kayla Nicole because Kayla Nicole doesn't have a lot of dark-skinned black female friends. So because she is multicultural and has a multicultural friend group, she doesn't count. She's a colorist. If your friends are white, you're colorist. Do you see how they always move the goalposts? So first, your colorism is based on tweets that you say when you're a teenager. That defines you as a colorist. Now they're saying, oh, if your friends are not dark-skinned black women, you are also a colorist. She says, I peeped what most of her friends look like. And then she panders towards black women. So if you're nice to everybody, including black women, you're just a pandering colorist. I also noticed this obsession with Kayla Nicole's dating life because Kayla Nicole has an aspirational dating life to a lot of self-hating, unambiguous black women. You know that a lot of them would love to have access to a Travis Kelce. That's their dream guy. A rich white man and he's an athlete? Oh yeah. So we already know that that's going to spark jealousy, seeing as that's who Kayla Nicole's ex is. So this person says, Kayla Nicole still can't get past Travis Kelce moving on. She needs to move in silence with grace and dignity. When will she learn? Seriously, she is not going to get a good man like that. All she did was give Dusty's content. And I think Trav's engagement is really messing her up bigly. So they're defining Kayla Nicole based on her relationship. She said nothing about her relationship. She has her own podcast. She was already a sports journalist before she even met Travis Kelce. But you have people randomly watching her, clocking her vagina. They're literally tracking who she's sleeping with. They're tracking who she's dating. That's how I know that deep down inside, these women put Kayla on a pedestal. Then she says, bingo, for someone as online as Kayla is, I find it hard to believe that she doesn't know the cultural climate that we're currently in. Yup, imagine dating someone for 5 years who didn't give you a ring, and then they move on to someone else and marry the woman in less than a year. Meanwhile, they're saying this on Chrissy's channel. Chrissy literally admitted on her own channel she was with a man and wanted to get married. They were engaged for 8 years. She admitted that on her own channel. So you got women bashing a woman for not being married within 5 years, yet the content creator whose comments they're underneath literally was in a relationship for 8 years without the guy marrying her. And that's another thing. Have you ever noticed that these types of women, they never have any solutions to offer? And content creators like Chrissy, they can never tell you their own personal stories of success. They never tell you their own personal stories of relationship success, hypergamy success, social climbing success. None of the hypergamy content creators do that. The only one that even showed who she was with was Shira7, and Shira7 doesn't even identify as a hypergamy content creator. So you got all these women, all these anonymous women commenting online, talking about what Kayla Nicole did wrong, but none of these women have any solutions. This person says she probably has that it's not colorism, you are just not pretty. It always blows up in their face. And then Chrissy actually favorited this. So they're projecting onto Kayla Nicole. They think that that is what Kayla Nicole thinks. So this is not even a quote from Kayla. This is literally just people making assumptions. And you can tell that Chrissy doesn't identify as pretty privileged because she said it in her own videos. And also, her content is geared towards non-pretty privileged dark-skinned black women, according to her own talking points. So you can hear the jealousy oozing out of that comment right there. They can't wait to see something blow up in Kayla Nicole's face. They can't wait to see her next failure. So they can try to make fun of it and say, see, I told you you weren't pretty enough. This person says, I'm starting to look at her sideways. Another girl says, I always got bird vibes from her. So they tend to call women birds who benefit from featureism. I've only ever seen them call women who they don't identify as unambiguous birds. I've never seen them call a woman like Whoopi Goldberg a bird. I've never seen them call a dark-skinned, unambiguous black woman who suffers from featureism a bird. They only call women who benefit from featureism birds. This person says, I finally brought a brown skin on stage. Please set my people free. This sounds so diminutive. Stop begging to be seen by people who don't want to see you. But Kayla Nicole didn't even beg to be seen. She didn't even pay for her concert ticket. She was sponsored by a brand. She was being paid to even attend that concert. So notice how they conveniently leave that out. This person says, and then Nicole came around and said she was doing it for brown girls. Girl, who gave you that assignment? So it's that same talking point of, excuse me, you are not my representation, Kayla Nicole. You do not represent unambiguous brown and dark skinned black women. So they're throwing her out of the unambiguous black community. They're saying, we didn't give you that assignment. You are not our representation. This person says, it was a bad look for Kayla. Taylor got the ring. Kayla got her legs in the air, showing why no one wifed her. So do you see their hierarchy thinking? Being a wife is at the top of the hierarchy, and then obviously being single is at the bottom of the hierarchy. Meanwhile, isn't Chrissy, the content creator who you're commenting on, isn't she single? She never got the ring. She was with a high-functioning alcoholic for 8 years, according to her own talking points. This person with a light-skinned AI photo as their profile pic says, Kayla Nicole will be known as Travis Kelce's ex forever. That man has long moved on and is engaged to the wealthiest pop singer in the world, but when you Google Kayla, she's still known as the ex. So because they can't call Kayla Nicole ugly, they can't really use anything against her, so they're trying to weaponize Taylor Swift's fame against Kayla. Have you ever noticed that? Whenever you're an exotical, they can't compare you to an unambiguous black woman and say you're beneath her. Oh no, they have to randomly bring the nearest white person to compare you to. This person says, it seems as though they both had something to prove from that performance. She may have wanted to prove that she was unbothered by Travis's recent engagement, and he wanted to show that he was interested in dark-skinned women. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Kayla was never screaming brown girls every 2 seconds while she was with Travis. So once again, they're saying Kayla Nicole, she acts white. She's only around white people. Her boyfriend was white, her friends are white. And it's like, you're trying to cancel Kayla Nicole for the same thing that you guys are doing. Chrissy's entire platform is based on how to assimilate into non-black cultures, and here they are making fun of Kayla for having a white ex-boyfriend and for having non-black friends. So it's this argument of, oh, she acts white. She was never saying brown girls before. This person underneath the comment said, and Chris bleaches. You can tell with his undertones. He looks like Vibes Cartel. So now they're accusing Chris Brown of being a bleacher, because we all know, according to the black community, nobody is actually light-skinned. Nobody actually was born light-skinned. All of us are just brown, or, we're light brown. And if we get any paler, then of course we are all bleachers. So, Chris Brown is no exception. He's also being called a bleacher now. We got another person that says Kayla Nicole is a bird. If they truly viewed Kayla Nicole as looking like them, why would they be making fun of her facial features? Why would they compare a fellow, unambiguous, dark-skinned black woman's facial features to theirs if they truly viewed Kayla Nicole as one of them? Why are they making these comments? This person says, Chris Brown ain't mixed. He's just a light-skinned ninja. I don't see what women see in him. He is not attractive to me at all. So once again, they're putting it on a hierarchy. Like, oh, you're not even mixed, Chris Brown. You're not valid. You're not as valid as somebody who's half white. Somebody else says, Kayla Nicole is a bird brain. So now they're giving her that dumb pretty girl stereotype. This person says, it's not imposter syndrome. She has no discernible talent at all. She's only in these spaces because her ex hooked up with Swift. She needs to listen to that reality and not the delusion on her mind where she thinks she's a public figure. She certainly has no place at any fashion week unless it's Walmart plus size or a dollar strip club. So now they're calling her fat. They're saying that, she belongs in the plus size department and that she has no talent. And it's like, you don't have to have talent in order to be famous and successful. Look at the Kardashians. Why is it that a woman of color can't be a socialite? A woman of color has to have this exceptional talent in order to belong. Do you see that person's internalized colorism coming out right there? This person says, you are right, but her fans are as vulgar and as empty-headed as she is. Zero substance, all performative and strategic for fame and relevance. Okay, but if she is strategic and gaining fame and relevance, that means that she does have a talent. Her talent is social climbing. So which one is it? Is she dumb and not talented, or is she strategically becoming more famous? This person says, Kayla, we were all rooting for you. Just get some self-esteem and divest already. Brown girl my ass, she looks like Naker's preference anyway. So it really wasn't an accomplishment. Not that being with Fist Brown would be a flex no matter what shade you are. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.